seeing as how we raise a lot of ducks here at Goldshot Farm, I get an awful lot of questions about ducks. Today's video is sponsored by ButcherBox. Release the quacking! And so what I figured I'd do for today's video is answer the internet's most asked questions about ducks. And so I scoured the internet and dug up an entire list of all of the questions that people most frequently ask about ducks. And I decided to try to answer every single one of them. And believe me, there's a lot of them. So grab a comfortable seat, sit back and relax as I try to answer the internet's most asked questions about ducks. Good morning, little goslings. By my count, I think there's about 175-ish questions here that I have to answer. Yeah, it was like 10 pages printed out on paper, and it's like really, really tiny font. So let's get into this. Are ducks birds? Yes, they are. Are ducks good pets? So. I would not want to have ducks living in my house, but I do know people who do have ducks living in their house. If you do plan to have a duck living in your house as a pet, you probably need to give them diapers. As an outdoor pet though, they actually work pretty well. Are ducks mammals? No. Are ducks omnivores? Are ducks herbivores? Are ducks carnivores? So the answer is ducks are definitely omnivores. They will eat all sorts of things. They will eat bugs and insects and worms and grubs and slugs. They also like to eat plants and grains and that sort of thing as well. From a health standpoint, they actually don't do too well if you only feed them one or the other, so giving them a mixture of the two is best. So to answer that question, ducks are most definitely omnivores. Except they don't really have many dilemmas. Are ducks smart? I'm not so sure about that. Ducks are smarter than chickens, but dumber than geese. Are ducks monogamous? No, ducks enjoy the,
Did I ever tell you about my friend Juan Jorge? Juan Jorge is one of our closest and dearest friends.
Lifestyle? Can ducks fly? So, wild ducks most definitely can fly and fly very regularly. My farm ducks can't really fly all that much. They can flutter like, 10, 15 feet. The best I've seen them do is maybe hop a 4-foot fence. But generally speaking, farm ducks are usually too big and too fat to fly. I've answered this one in depth in other videos, so check that out. Can ducks eat bread? No, do not ever feed ducks bread. Do not feed ducks or geese bread for that matter. I feed my chickens bread all the time, like if I have a stale roll or something, but I never give it to the ducks and geese. I make sure they don't have access to it. If they eat too much bread, they can actually get an ailment known as sauerkraut, and that can actually potentially be fatal. So never feed ducks or geese bread. If you're one of those folks who likes to feed birds something, the best option I could offer you up is cracked corn. Cracked corn is actually pretty darn good for ducks and geese. I mean, you don't want to give them too much because they can get a little too overweight from it, but generally speaking, it's a much better option than bread. Can ducks and chickens live together? Yes, and they can do it in harmony. So if you have a small flock that you want to have all together, go for it. Just make sure that the waterers that you have are duck waterers instead of chicken waterers. A duck waterer can work for a chicken, but a chicken waterer doesn't work for a duck. Can ducks eat grapes? Why, yes they can.
Hey, bump, 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 got any grapes?
Can ducks eat strawberries? Ducks absolutely love strawberries. Can ducks eat bananas? I mean, they can eat them. Generally speaking, I avoid feeding my ducks bananas. There are just a lot of other better options out there for feeding your ducks. Can ducks eat apples? Not really. Like if you smash it up, I can see a duck eating it, but generally speaking, they're gonna have trouble eating the apple itself. I feed apples to my geese all the time, especially when we're in apple season and we have a whole bunch of drops that fall on the ground before we're able to pick them. I will give them to the geese. I will also take the apple pulp that we have when we make hard cider and give that to the geese. But generally speaking, the ducks aren't all that interested in it. Can ducks eat chicken feed? Yeah, they definitely can, and I, generally speaking, feed my ducks chicken feed all the time. When I feed my birds each morning, I give them a mixture of chicken layer feed and cracked corn and sometimes scratch grains. While generally speaking, it's not the perfect nutrition for the duck, it does pretty well. Also, because I let my ducks free range around here, they get access to all sorts of plants and insects which give them additional supplements and nutrition. Generally though, the biggest thing that chicken feed lacks for ducks is niacin. It's really important for healthy leg development, and so I will supplement young birds with niacin, but as they get older I find that I don't need to do that. All right, here's a couple that I'm gonna bunch all together. How do ducks mate? How do ducks reproduce? How do ducks lay eggs? Well, oftentimes around our farm you'll see one duck using another duck like a surfboard. When you see that activity going on, that's usually them mating. They will often do it in the water, but sometimes they'll do it on the land. Once they've mated, the female takes the fertilized eggs and then she lays them in a nest. Oftentimes she'll lay her eggs in a pile known as a clutch, and after a few days and collecting a few eggs in a pile, she'll sit on those eggs. Generally it takes about 28 days of a mother duck sitting on the eggs to hatch those eggs, and then that's how you have baby ducklings. You can also substitute the mother duck with an incubator, which you've seen me use in other videos. Just a fair warning, there are a lot of questions here. I gotta say, I haven't even covered the first page here in all these questions, but I did want to take a moment to talk about my sponsor, ButcherBox. ButcherBox delivers 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef, free-range organic chicken, pork, and wild-caught seafood directly to your doorstep. ButcherBox sources from farmers and fishermen who meet the highest standards for quality. I love ButcherBox because it's so hard to source good seafood where I live, but thanks to ButcherBox, I can get great quality stuff delivered right to my doorstep. The way ButcherBox works is that you choose your box type and delivery frequency, and you can push your shipment out or cancel at any time. ButcherBox ships your order frozen at peak freshness and packed with dry ice in an eco-friendly, 100% recyclable box. Check out the link below before June 30th, and new members will get a free pack of bacon in every box they order for the rest of the lifetime of their subscription. And you'll get $10 off your first box too. So if you're looking for good meat, look into ButcherBox. And thanks ButcherBox for sponsoring today's video and being a part of our cow fund. Moo! How do ducks sleep? Generally speaking, ducks like to sleep on the ground. They don't like roost like chickens roost. And typically what they will do is they will take their head and tuck it around and underneath their wing. It's pretty adorable when you can catch them sleeping. How do ducks see? They have eyes and they use those eyes to see. Generally speaking, they've got pretty good vision. Not amazing, but good. How do ducks eat? Well, ducks are like filter feeders. So oftentimes they will take food in their mouth and then they will sort of, get it in there like underneath their tongue, and like they have like these like little filter thingies, and oftentimes they need water to actually do the digestion and eating process, and so they'll swish the food around in their water, and that's how they end up eating the food. That's also how they end up making a complete mess in their water. How do ducks see the world? I don't know, I guess they look upon it with awe and inspiration, much like I do. Either that or they're in constant fear. I find that my ducks seem to vacillate between those two options. What ducks lay the most eggs? I would say that the khaki Campbell duck, which is the main duck that we have around here on our farm, is the most prolific egg layer. They can lay as many as 300 eggs a year, which is more than a lot of chickens. What ducks are black and white? Well, we have Cayuga ducks here on our farm, and they start off as black ducks, but then as they age, they get white feathers, and so they get this nice, very pretty black and white look to them. What ducks can fly and what ducks nest in trees? So one breed of duck, and technically speaking, they're not really even a duck, they're like a cousin of a duck, is the Muscovy duck. Muscovies can fly. They're much better flyers than, say, my farm ducks. And sometimes they will nest in trees. So that's probably the duck that question asker's thinking about. When do ducks start laying eggs? I find that the ducks start laying eggs around the 4.5, 5 month mark, sometimes 6, depending on the time of year. But by the time your ducks are like 6 or 7 months old, they should be laying eggs. When do ducks get up in the morning? Well, here on our farm, our ducks get up when I let them out of the house. When do ducks get feathers? So when ducks are first born, they're covered in like a little downy soft substance. But by the time they're like about 2.5 weeks old, they start to have their adult feathers begin poking through. And by the time they're 5 or 6 weeks old, they will usually be fully feathered out. When they don't have those full feathers, you need to keep them warm in a room like a brooder with heat plates or lamps. But by the time they're fully feathered out, you don't need to keep them warm and they're good just on their own. Where do ducks go in the winter? Well, I guess it all depends. If they're migratory birds, like they're wild ducks, oftentimes they will go to a warmer climate. So here in the northern hemisphere, they will go south. But our farm ducks stay here year round. They're actually pretty cold hardy. That's one of the reasons why I decided to raise ducks ducks here in Vermont. You know, because they have their outer feathers as well as down on the inside, that keeps them warm like they're wearing a big puffer coat. Which ducks are the quietest? Well, I would actually say the male ducks are often the quietest. So drakes don't make much quacking noise like the female ducks. I've made videos about this topic before as well. So if you live like in an urban environment and you want ducks, but your neighbors are gonna complain, you might wanna think about getting a couple of male ducks. And so you can have the joy of keeping ducks without the noise. Who's duck on Masked Singer? I have no idea, and I have never seen that television program. Who's the duck who thinks he's a flamingo? I had to Google this one myself, and I was kind of shocked by what I found.
Look at him. He thinks he's a flamingo.
Why are ducks on Jeeps? Wait, are you serious? Why do ducks sleep on one leg? So ducks sleep on one leg actually to try to regulate their temperature. It's actually a behavior I see a lot in the winter where you'll see them standing on one leg and then they have their other leg tucked into them. What they're doing is keeping that other leg warm, and then you'll notice that they switch legs. Because ducks don't sweat like us mammals, they need other ways to manage their body temperature, and standing on one leg or the other is a good way to do that for them. Why do ducks have webbed feet? To better swim with, my darling.
All the better to see you with.
Will ducks kill chickens? Generally speaking, no. When it comes to the chickens, you know, a male drake could maybe try to mate with a female chicken, and that freakiness could potentially kill the chicken. So that's the one example I could think of, but other than that, I don't think you have much risk of your ducks killing chickens. Maybe if they were baby chicks, like a mother duck would try to drown those chickens, trying to get it to swim like her duckling should swim. But other than that, no, I wouldn't see that as a big risk. Will ducks eat goldfish? Yes, if you have ducks in your pond and you have goldfish in your pond, your ducks will potentially eat those goldfish. Will ducks kill each other? Yeah, that can happen. So especially if you have too many males to females, like your ratio is all skewed, you have this issue and risk of the males beating up the female so much that she can get injured and die. You could see an issue where they gang up on her and drown her. So yeah, there is that risk sometimes. That's why it's really important to have the right ratio between males and females when you have ducks. Will ducks eat birdseed? Yeah, generally speaking, ducks will eat birdseed, and it's usually pretty good for them. You know, a lot of things that you find in birdseed, whether it be millet or sunflower seeds, they're really great feeds for the ducks themselves. And so yeah, they will eat it. It's not bad. I wouldn't give them only birdseed, but like if you were looking to feed the ducks in the park a snack, you could give them birdseed and it'd be fine. Will ducks eat my garden? Yes. You know, a lot of people ask me about this where they want to have their ducks run through their garden and manage pests and weeds. And while they will do a good job with it, you have to be careful. If you leave ducks in one spot for too long, they will start to eat your garden plants. If you only move them in quickly for like an hour or two and you supervise them, it wouldn't be too bad. But if you leave them unsupervised for days on end, they will absolutely eat your garden. Can ducks surf? I don't know, that's a really good question. I have never personally seen a surfing duck. I guess in terms of riding a wave, I could see a duck being able to ride a wave though.
But you know, just like I told the guy on ABC, danger is my business.
Ducks for sale. And then actually there's a whole bunch of search results that are all ducks for sale in like various areas near people. So to answer the question more broadly of where can you buy ducks, there's a couple places. You can buy ducks from a hatchery, so you can get baby ducks and buy them, you know, from places that specifically hatch them out. You can buy them sometimes from farms. Like I will often sell ducklings in the summer months for people to buy. You can usually find them at your local animal feed store, like in the spring months. A lot of times if they're selling chickens, they might be selling ducks. And then the other thing you can do is buy hatching eggs and hatch them yourself. And if you're interested, we do sell duck hatching eggs all spring, summer, and fall here at Goldshaw Farm. Just check out our website down below. Okay, then there's a bunch of questions about different colored ducks. So the ducks with the green heads, generally speaking, you're thinking of a male mallard duck when you think about a duck with a green head. The other ones I'll call out are like cayugas. So we have like a cayuga drake here on our farm by the name of Sirius Quack. And he's like black and green iridescent, and especially in his head, it turns green if you look at it in the sunlight in the right way. It's pretty darn cool. Who are the ducks with the red heads? So the ducks with the red heads or red faces, usually you're probably thinking of the Muscovy duck. Who are the ducks with afros? So there is a type of duck known as a crested duck where it looks like they have like an afro haircut. I would strongly advise people against getting these. You know, for crested ducks, the reason their feathers grow like that is because they actually have a birth defect in their skull. Like there's a hole in their skull bill. They're susceptible to a lot of genetic issues and problems. They've been bred that way to have that weird feather pattern, but it has all sorts of negative health impacts for the bird, and I strongly advise against it. I would honestly love to see if people stop trying to breed crested birds. I think it's an awful practice. Who are the ducks with teeth? I don't know. I mean, ducks do technically have like little teeth like that are known as denticles, but their teeth pale in comparison to geese, who have very scary teeth on their bill and on their tongue. Do ducks like rain? Yeah, my ducks absolutely love rain. They love when it rains, and they especially love when the rain makes puddles. Ducks or chickens in Stardew Valley? I haven't played Stardew Valley in quite some time, but I personally always like to have the ducks because they lay those big eggs. Plus, you get the duck feather.
The same people that like regular eggs also like duck eggs.
Ducks versus geese. Well, let's see. I think I prefer, generally speaking, geese because they are more sustainable. They get more of their diet from grazing. So I personally prefer geese, but I know a lot of people actually prefer ducks over geese. Here's an interesting series. Oh, hey, Alexander Hamilton, don't you try to attack me. Go, come on. Get out of here. All right, ducks versus sharks, ducks versus kings, ducks versus coyotes, ducks versus avalanche. I'm assuming those are all hockey-related questions, and when it comes to those types of questions, my answer is...
Tarps off, boys. The flow in the snow, boys.
That's embarrassing.
I always prefer the Washington Capitals. Unless, of course, if the Hartford Whalers were still around, that'd probably still be my team. Okay, here's one question which is vague, but I know exactly what they mean. Ducks corkscrew. And yes, the answer is the sexual anatomy of a male duck does look like a corkscrew. I could probably do a whole video on the sexual proclivities of ducks, but it would get probably a little bit too weird for me. I'm looking through the rest of these questions. As you can see here, most of them kind of get weird and redundant and not nearly as useful. I think the one question that I often get that I don't see in here is whether or not a duck's quack echoes. And the answer is a duck's quack does echo. Like, I have heard it. Like, around here on our farm, you can easily hear an echo at certain times. And I have heard the duck quack, and I've heard the echo of it. There's going to be all sorts of people who are going to argue against that one, and feel free to go at it down in the comments, but no, I have definitely heard ducks echo. This video was a lot of fun to produce. If you guys have more questions around ducks and you want me to answer more of those questions in the future, let me know. Just drop some comments down below. And if you want me to break down more of the science around ducks, check out this video right here. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. Thank you for watching.